You know, the Quran says something about itself over and over again. It calls itself a Kitabun Mubeen, a clear book. Now, that's not just some poetic flair. It's a mission statement. It's telling us, hey, I'm a practical manual for life, a blueprint for how to build a real, functioning community. It's not supposed to be a book of mysterious riddles or vague ideas you just kind of think about. The guidance is meant to be clear, actionable, something you can do in the real world. But there's a trend, a really dangerous one, that's taking these crystal clear commands and dissolving them into abstract metaphors, turning our duties into nothing more than personal feelings.
And that brings us to the absolute core of what we're talking about today. This whole process of turning everything into a metaphor, it isn't some kind of deeper spiritual understanding. No, it's an act of deletion. Simple as that. When you take a physical responsibility and say, oh, it's just a state of mind, you've just given yourself an out. You've erased the command from the book. So today, we're going to use the Quran's own words, its own internal proof, to put the meaning back into these foundational pillars.
So here's our game plan. First, we'll establish what it means for the Quran to be a clear book. Then we're going to do a deep dive into Salat, looking at its physical rules and the actual meaning of the words. From there, we'll look at other systems like Zakat and Siyam. We'll also clear up the huge difference between Salat and Dua, and finally, we'll wrap up by talking about the very real danger of letting these meanings slip away.
All right, let's start with the foundation for everything we're going to discuss. The single, powerful idea, the Quran as the Kitabun Mubeen, a manifesto for action, not just a book for quiet thought.
If you look at Surah 12, verse 1, Surah 15, verse 1, and Surah 26, verse 2, you'll see God telling us that the verses of this book are clear, or they make things clear. This is the lens we have to use for everything else. It means that the default interpretation, the first one we should always go to, is the direct, physical, actionable one. If someone wants to turn a clear command into a metaphor, the burden of proof is on them, not on the people who are simply taking the clear book at its word.
So, let's put this principle to the test with our first big example, a salat. The modern abstract idea is that salat is just a connection, a fuzzy feeling inside. But the Quran lays out such specific physical rules for it that honestly, that interpretation just becomes impossible.
So on one hand, you have the claim that Salat is just this internal, abstract feeling. And on the other, you have the Quran's own proof, which describes a physical, timed, and structured ritual. The difference couldn't be more obvious, and the evidence, as we'll see, is completely on one side.
The Quran itself gives us these three undeniable proofs that Salat is physical. First, Surah 4, verse 103 tells us that Salat is prescribed for believers at specified, set times. A state of mind doesn't run on a schedule. Second, Surah 5, verse 6 commands wudu, physical washing. You don't wash your face, hands, and feet to feel connected. And third, the one we're about to dive into, the battlefield logistics in Surah 4, verse 102, well, that just demolishes the entire abstract argument.
Okay, now for what I think is the knockout punch. This one verse, for me, just ends the debate. In Surah 4, verse 102, God gives these incredibly detailed instructions for how to perform Salat in the middle of a battle. He says to divide into two groups, to carry your weapons with you, then one group performs the prostration while the other group literally stands guard. And after that, they switch. I mean, this is a detailed military protocol. You don't need troop rotations and armed guards for an internal feeling. This verse, all by itself, proves beyond any doubt that Salat is a coordinated physical action that you can see.
But the evidence doesn't stop with logistics. It's literally baked into the language itself. When you look at the classical Arabic roots for the words we use in prayer, you find they describe specific physical movements. The words themselves fight back against abstraction.
Let's start with the root word for salat itself, sad, lam, waw. In classical Arabic, this root is all about following something closely. Get this, in a horse race, the horse that comes in second, the one that follows the leader so closely that its head is right at the back of the first horse, that horse is called the musalli. What a powerful metaphor. It tells us that Salat isn't some random, spontaneous feeling. It's a disciplined, structured following of a divine path, keeping that close, precise connection through deliberate action, just like that horse.
Next up, ruku, from the root ra kaf ain. Its core meaning is purely physical, to bow, to lean your torso forward. This isn't a metaphor for humility. It is the physical act of showing humility. And when the Quran says in Surah 2, verse 43, bow down with those who bow down, it's describing a group of people doing a synchronized action together. I mean, how do you synchronize an internal feeling with a group of people? You can't. You can only synchronize a physical action that everyone can see.
And it's the exact same story with sujud, from the root sin jim dal, which means to lower your head, to prostrate on the ground. The ultimate proof here is in Surah 2, verse 34. God commands the angels to perform sujud to Adam. Now think about that. Angels, by their very nature, are already in a state of perfect, constant internal submission to God. So the command couldn't have been for a feeling they already had. It had to be for a new, external, physical act of honor. If sujud were just a feeling, that command would have been totally meaningless.
And this principle of physicality, it's not just about Salat. It extends to the other pillars that are designed to build a strong, just community. Let's take a quick look at Siyam, the fast, and Zakat, the obligatory charity.
This right here is a masterclass in the Quran's incredible precision. People who claim the fast is just about being silent will point to Maryam's vow in Surah 19, verse 26. But the Quran uses two different words. The word used for Maryam's vow, asam, only appears that one time and is defined right there as a vow of silence. But for the ritual fast prescribed for all believers, the Quran only uses the word as-siyam. And in Surah 2, verse 187, as-siyam is explicitly defined as abstaining from food, drink, and intimacy. You don't eat and drink to break a vow of silence, do you? No, you do that to break a physical fast.
Now, when we get to Zakat, it's so obviously not a metaphor. It's a real, tangible economic safety net for the whole community. Surah 9, verse 60, lays out 8 specific categories of people who receive it. This isn't a vague suggestion to be nice. This is legislative framework for how to distribute wealth. It lists the poor, the needy, free and captives, those in debt, and, this is the crucial part, those employed to collect it.
This leads to a really simple, logical question that just exposes how absurd the abstract view is. If Zakat is just internal integrity or purifying your heart, how on earth do you hire an employee to go around and collect it? How do you then take someone's integrity and give it to a poor person or a traveler? The whole idea is nonsensical. Zakat is a real financial obligation.
Okay, this next distinction is absolutely crucial for putting all the pieces together. It's the difference between the formal, structured framework of Salat and the spontaneous, emotional fuel of dua, which is our personal call to God. Mixing these two up is a huge mistake.
The Quran gives us these powerful, vivid case studies of dua. In Surah 19, verse 3, you have Zechariah making a private, secret call to his Lord. In Surah 66, verse 11, you have the wife of Pharaoh crying out for rescue from a tyrant. In Surah 19, verse 23, Maryam lets out this raw, unfiltered cry of agony during childbirth. And maybe the most powerful of all, in Surah 21, verse 87, Yunus calls out from the total darkness of a whale's belly, a place where the physical rules of Salat, like washing or facing a direction, were literally impossible. These are all dua, spontaneous, heartfelt, unstructured calls to God based on a specific situation.
This table really lays it all out perfectly. Salat is the covenant. It has rules like washing and direction. It has set times and a formal structure. It's a discipline. Dua, on the other hand, is the call. It has no rules, can be done anytime, any place, is completely unstructured, and it's a spontaneous personal plea. Think of it this way. Salat is the strong framework that gives a believer's life structure, and dua is the constant fuel of personal connection that powers us both inside and outside that framework.
So, we've looked at the evidence from logistics, from the language itself, and from the clear functional differences right there in the Quran. And this brings us to our conclusion: the urgent, critical need to rescue these real physical meanings from the danger of being deleted by metaphors.
The consequences of this aren't just theoretical. They are real, and they are devastating. Let's be brutally honest about what happens. If Salat gets reduced to just a feeling, the structured communal act of prayer will eventually stop. If Zakat is just internal integrity, the social safety net is gone, and the poor will starve. If Siyam is just being silent for a bit, the profound discipline of the physical fast is lost. We essentially gut our religion of its power to actually change us and to build a better society. And so I want to leave you with a direct question. Have you noticed this yourself, in your own life, in your communities? Have you seen how turning these solid duties into vague metaphors slowly leads to those physical responsibilities just disappearing?
Does it feel like the clear book is being treated more like a book of vague suggestions? I genuinely want to know what you think. Let's talk about this in the comments below.
If this analysis of the clear book helped bring some clarity to you, please help get this message out there by liking and sharing this explainer. And for more deep dives into the direct, clear guidance of the Quran, make sure you subscribe to the channel God Alone, Quran Alone. Thanks so much for watching.